one of the things I struggled with was pride. It's one of humans' big struggles. And growing up in New Jersey, where I didn't have any other Mormons that I was really friends with, I was always the leader. I was always like the president of the deacons or the teachers, first counselor and the priests, and just because there was nobody else to do it, right? And so when I get to the MTC, I'm like, oh, okay, well, here's where I become district leader, and then somebody else did, and I was like, oh, wait, but I'm usually, like, that's me who becomes district leader. And so I had real issue with that. And so as I was sitting there and I was like trying to contemplate how I could be a better missionary, the thought came to me, which was, you're being an idiot. You're being prideful. You should love your district leader. And I was like, yeah, but he's prideful. And so the Spirit and I had this little argument about what to do. And eventually we came to the conclusion that I needed to give him a compliment every single day. Oh man, that was like tough to swallow. At first I was like, hey Elder. He's like, what? I was like, nice tie. You know, just like whatever, like little compliments I can give him. And then came like the real test where I had to like compliment his language skills. And like, that's always like a really prideful thing in the MTC. And so I was like, Elder, he's like, what? I was like, you have a good accent. And he was like, oh, thanks. I think you do too. And I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, thanks. You know, and like felt pretty good. But a week went by and still was like, I was struggling to give him those compliments. And so then the Spirit said, okay, now Elder Oates, you need to serve him every day. And I was like, serve him every day? So I thought, like, what could I do to serve him? So I started making his bed. So every morning when he'd get in the shower, I'd go and I'd make his bed. And about a week went by, and then like everybody started making each other's beds, and it was like a race to see who could make each other's beds first, because there's not really a lot you could do for each other at the MTC, you know? So that was what we were trying to do. And I remember one day after about 2 weeks of this, I was praying to love him. I was giving him a compliment every single day. I was making his bed. I get to a point where I go over to make his bed, and I fold the sheets back, and I kind of like did a little fold at the head of his bed. And I remember my hands were about like right there when I was flattening his sheets. And I was like, wait a second, I've never done this before. It's like, why am I folding over his sheets? And it dawned on me that it's because I loved him. And I realized that if I'm struggling to love someone, if I will serve them, if I will give them compliments and uplift them, if I will pray to have God bless me with that love, that's how you do it. That's how you're blessed with that love.